Hey, I'm Paeter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues Weekly, where I talk, what do I do? Where I talk about DC Comics 1 week after their release on the Ultra tier of the DC Universe Infinite subscription service. In each installment, I pick an assortment of comics to talk about as a DC fan and also explore what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of real life. Now, warning, full spoilers for everything I talk about, so be aware this is your first and only warning that many spoilers lie ahead. Right now, we're taking a look at a couple of comics originally released to the Ultra tier on September 12th, 2023. First up, Batman Superman World's Finest, number 18, originally released August 15th, or published, August 15th, 2023. This is a story from early in the careers of Batman and Superman, so about 1 year after they'd kind of originally started as heroes. They seem to know of each other, but they might not have met. That's kind of unclear. They seem to be calling back to some of the 1980s Man of Steel reboot right after Crisis on Infinite Earths, featuring the character of Magpie as a villain. Or what, actually, was she in that story? I can't remember. But anyway, just pulling Magpie would be one example of pulling from really early in that kind of reboot era. Let me see what else. The thing that brings them together is that the Riddler is leaving clues for Batman that are in Kryptonese. And Clark kind of gets a hold of this and realizes, okay, I've got to go over there and figure out what's going on. And so that's what brings the two characters together. I'm not absolutely loving the art and the costuming. In the World's Finest stuff we've seen up to this point, they did some nice retro modernizing. They would take costume concepts from earlier in the comic books history, but they would modernize them just a little bit, like giving Robin pants or whatever. And I wish they'd done something similar here. They're kind of presenting Batman as wearing really basically gray spandex with some blue things like the blue underwear, the blue boots and stuff. It's very true to the 70s and 80s Batman, but it uses this design of his mask that I had thought for a while when I was reading comics was just an artistic representation of a shadow, where his cowl is all like this blue color, except right around his forehead and his nose and his eyes, that is all black. And eventually I realized in the comics, oh no, that is actually how that they're not just saying his face is always in shadow. No, they're saying that his costume is designed in a way so that it's got this black mask. I don't like that design, and I don't like seeing it kind of being reproduced here, especially with the other elements of Batman's costume being as light as they are, relatively speaking. I really prefer Batman to be as darkly colored as possible. I guess in some ways I kind of put up with or am more understanding of the sort of retro aesthetic of Superman's costume, even though I do like some modernizing with that costume as well. Just not quite feeling the art and the costume designs this time around. I did enjoy this kind of presentation or reimagining of the story of how Batman and Superman found out each other's secret identities. I mean, it makes sense that pretty quickly Batman would sleuth out who Superman is, and I think it's clever the way that they present him figuring that out. And then, of course, it's all too obvious to realize how Superman would find out Batman's identity. So I'm liking that sort of retracing of this discovery of of each other's identities. An interesting reveal, though, at the very last page is that the villain that's been using Kryptonese and manipulating Riddler is Jack Sewer, who I didn't know. Well, I still don't know if prior to this point he's ever appeared in the comics. Jack Sewer, as far as I know, was a stand-in for General Zod in the Superman animated series, and they seem to be reproducing basically that same visual design of the character here. And I always wondered in the animated series of the 90s why they didn't just use General Zod. They had this character Jack Sewer. Now maybe he's a character from like the 50s or 60s or who knows when in the comics. I don't know, but the animated series, from what I understand, is his origin point. And so to have him come here and be introduced to the comics, I'm like, well, I don't know how I feel about this because he already is so close to General Zod. So now we're going to have both of these guys exist in the same continuity. So hopefully they will do something different, something interesting. I mean, he even shows up choking Superman and says, "Son of my jailer," which is, that's what Zod said to Superman famously in the original late 70s, early 80s Superman 2 movie. So he's so evoking Zod right now. I'm just wondering how they're going to make him a different and interesting character in his own right in a continuity where presumably Zod does also exist as this Kryptonian villain. So I'm interested to see what they'll do. Not feeling super optimistic, though, at the beginning of this new story arc for Batman Superman World's Finest. What I am still enjoying, though, is the Vigil. Vigil number 4, released originally August 15th, 2023. And this is a new book about a team that's made up of metahumans that they're all original characters, have not appeared in DC Comics before. And they're sort of I was going to say black ops, but really it's not. They're not a military organization. They are an independent organization with funding and leadership that's a bit sketchy and mysterious. But basically their agenda is to go around and find things in the DC universe that are too dangerous for people to have or to know about. So just truths that the public couldn't handle or technologies that should not fall into anyone's hands. They basically go and take those things off the map, either by destroying them or irrevocably getting them out of access from the public. So it's a really interesting premise, and the team in issue 4, while they're on a mission, stumbles onto records revealing that their team leader, Dr. Sankaran, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but anyway, he is much older than he already appears to be from some footage that they find. And also, he reveals at the end of the issue that their origins are tied to him in ways they never would have expected, and I can't wait to find out what that's all about. We also get a highlight or a character profile, a bit of a flashback of the character Dodge, who's like this female melee martial arts type combatant on the team, whose physiology, I can't remember how they explain it, like all of her muscles have like twitch fiber muscle type like all over her whole body, and somehow that makes her, I don't know, really good at fighting. They didn't really explore the concept of her powers and how they work much in this issue, but they got into more about her background and how she, her father was just kind of like a deadbeat dad in the wake of her mother's death. It looks like he was an alcoholic, and so she just had a really horrible upbringing in that sense that obviously would have left her damaged. But she's basically got the ability to like really cut loose physically, but at risk to her own body. So like when it really counts, she can do some major damage, but it doesn't mean that her body is immune. So it's kind of like, what if, I'm not saying she's on the level of Superman, I don't really know what the limits of her strength are. What if she had Superman's strength, but like not his invulnerability? So when Superman punches a dude so hard that he goes flying across the Grand Canyon, well, he also breaks every bone in his arm, in his own arm, I mean. So that's kind of like the concept that I'm seeing here, which is really interesting. I like powers that explore some kind of some limitations that could possibly do some harm to the one using them. Yeah, and just stripping away some of those things that we take for granted in certain power sets, like super strength. So, yeah, I continue to be extremely fascinated by this team, seemingly created in immoral ways to take on missions of questionable morality for the sake of doing good in the world. So it's that classic, do the ends justify the means question being explored here. Otherwise, no potential themes in this particular issue stood out, except perhaps related to Dodge's background and the rough upbringing that she had. But I suspect that this book is just going to continually be ripe, as it shows and teases, I think, in every issue so far, that it's just going to be ripe for thematic content in the future, especially after they get these characters established. We're 4 issues in, and they're taking time that I appreciate them taking to give character profiles and establish who each character is, what kind of drives them. And I'm really excited, as much as I'm enjoying that and appreciating that, I'm all the more looking forward to having that business done so that I'm invested. I care about these characters, but then we really get into the meat of what this team is going to be about, what their stories are going to be about. But part of me, because I'm enjoying it so much and I tend to be pessimistic, I'm thinking this book is going to get canceled, isn't it? Because I'm enjoying it so much. And that tends to happen with me and the things that I enjoy. So anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about the Vigil number 4. And those are also all of my thoughts on comic books for now. As always, love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Remember to check out christiangeekcentral.com for tons more content. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Hey guys, Paeter Franson here. Want to play games to save lives? Then join me again this year for Game Save, our annual charity fundraising event in support of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, whose compassionate care and cutting-edge research has been saving the lives of children all over the world for decades. Joining the Game Save team only requires a willingness to ask friends and family to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Team members also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising, like a special game night at your home or church, or like me, you can do a crazy 24-hour video game marathon. Now, I'm theming my fundraising around video games, but you can also use tabletop games if you want. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but by joining the Game Save team, you can get support and encouragement from myself and other team members and have more attention drawn to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the origins and heart behind Game Save itself at gamesave.christiangeekcentral.com. To join the team, make an account at tiltify.com, then click on the link below and click Support Campaign. After that, follow the instructions to create your own personal campaign in support of the CGC Team Campaign. To help your donors avoid confusion, I recommend using your name and the phrase CGC Game Save 23 as the name of your individual campaign. After that, as team leader beginning in October, I provide team members with weekly tips and resources to make your fundraising as fun, easy, and effective as possible. October is going to be our main push for fundraising, capping things off with my annual 24-hour video gaming live stream on November 4th, although you are welcome to continue fundraising until the end of November 30th, when our official final total will be tallied. If you have any questions before or after signing up, you can reach me anytime at paeter@spiritblade.com. I'm happy to help, and I hope that you'll consider being a part of this with me. I can't wait to get started. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.